Hello and welcome everybody to the very first episode of the Motorworks and More podcast. I'm your host Logan, and let's get into today's episode. So to kick things off here, this channel and or podcast, because there's going to be more than just a podcast on here, is loosely going to be based around anything and everything going on in the automotive world, whether it's vehicles, cars, trucks, motorcycles, anything in the books that deals with the automotive side of the world, I guess you could call it, will probably be discussed on this channel. So, as I said earlier, let's get into today's episode. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about this guy on basically every social media platform at this point in time, Whistlin' Diesel. He is, I guess you could say, a YouTube sensation. He's famous on Instagram for getting his accounts deleted and banned and all that fun stuff. But the main premises around this guy, he buys these really nice and built up trucks, and he's known for destroying them, and some people think it's great. I honestly think it's kind of funny, and then some people absolutely hate it and want the guy dead, which I'm not that much of an extremist over it, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. So to kick things off on a good start here, let's get into our first topic about this guy. So as I said earlier, he is basically a professional at making people mad and angry on social media, but his most recent thing that he's been doing here lately is he rebuilt his, as he calls it, Monster Max, which is a Duramax, LBZ Duramax cat-eye truck that he had built up into a monster truck, but he got with a country artist and they filmed a music video with the truck in it, and after the filming was over with, they decided to go have some fun in it, and to say the least, he broke it very, very majorly. So he had spent a lot of time and effort rebuilding this. He had spent over $200,000 just in parts and labor, and they used over, I want to say, 50 miles of welding wire, which if you do any welding or anything, that is ridiculous. I don't think a lot of people would use that much in a year, let alone in a few months building a truck, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. But anyways, this truck is absurd, and if you have the time, if you want, I guess you could go and Google it and get your input on it, but this truck is probably 25 to 30 foot tall. The fuel tanks look like missiles. I am probably 6 foot, and I could probably stand in the wheel wells. It's crazy. So shortly before this truck was completed, there was a lot of controversy between the Hawaiian citizens and this guy, because he was posting photoshopped images of the completed truck driving into a volcano, and he said he was going to make it happen. I don't know a whole lot about this whole volcano thing, but the little bit of research I've done on it, it sounds like to me that these volcanoes are very sacred, and this guy, this 5'8" Indiana resident, wants to drive his big monster truck into a volcano. I think it's hilarious, mainly because of the outlash that's been thrown back against him because of it. But not only that, it's been a social media war between him and basically everybody from Hawaii, because he wants to drive a truck through some lava. I mean, let the guy do what he wants. He already spent $270 some odd thousand to build a truck. Just let him destroy it. I mean, let the man do what he wants. So a little bit more about this guy. Here recently, he has been getting a little bit of hate, but more or less support, because he has started to, I guess you could say, attack the squatted truck community. A few months back, he bought a really, really squatted truck from someone in Florida, I believe is where this guy was from. But he paid, I want to say, somewhere around 13 grand for this truck. the build quality was pretty terrible, and that's being nice. And it sounded terrible, it looked terrible, the wrap that they had put on it, the vinyl wrap was not put on well, half of the truck was rusted out, but his main purpose to buy this, I guess I should say, was to turn around and destroy it and make a couple videos on it. I mean, what else would you do with a truck that, you basically can't drive? Mainly because if you're sitting in the driver's seat or just any of the seats, you're not looking at the road, you're looking up. Unless you have your seat completely folded, like, to the furthest it'll go towards the steering wheel, you're not seeing anything. And he tried to drive it in a city, and needless to say, it didn't go well. I think he hopped a few curves. I think he almost hit a cop. If you want to go check those videos out on his channel, I think they're hilarious. And there's people that love it, and there's people that hate it, obviously. I mean, you're gonna have the people that think it's great because they're with him on it, and then there's the people that build those and drive those type of trucks, and they're typically the ones that would get offended about it. But he had paid a younger kid, probably 8 to 10 years old, to do a little skit with it, come over and, like, kick it. It was pretty funny. All in all, this has been the Motorworks and More podcast. I'm your host, Logan, and thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Peace, guys.